Marcus lived a quiet life at the edge of the Earth colony, where bioluminescent plants lit up the night and the air smelled faintly of salt and metallic dust. His home was modest, a blend of weathered Earth materials and sleek alien alloys, tucked into a cliffside that overlooked the endless, shimmering ocean. He spent his days tending his greenhouse of exotic plants, harvesting their unique properties for research and export. Alone, he worked steadily, with only the gentle hum of automated systems to keep him company. That changed when the Virella Maid arrived. Her name was Zaya, and she was unlike anything Marcus had ever seen. Her skin had a pale, lavender hue, soft and faintly iridescent under the sunlight. Her eyes were large, with a shimmering golden tint that seemed to catch every detail. Her build was slender, her movements precise and deliberate. Jaya wore a simple, high-collared uniform and carried herself with quiet dignity. She wasn't mechanical like the older household droids. She was fully organic, a creation of Virellan biologists who had perfected their species' ability to adapt and serve. Marcus had heard about these alien maids, though he hadn't asked for one. The colonial administrators explained that Jaya's presence was part of a cultural exchange initiative. "She'll assist you with daily tasks," the representative had said, "and in return, she'll learn about human living habits and care routines." Marcus had agreed reluctantly. He didn't mind solitude and preferred doing things on his own. But now she was here, quietly stepping into his home and taking up tasks without needing much instruction. At first, Marcus thought Zaya's behavior was simply part of her training. She cleaned surfaces with efficiency, organized supplies he hadn't touched in months, and prepared meals using Earth ingredients with surprising precision. She hardly spoke except to ask if he needed anything else. In return, Marcus treated her kindly, though he was unsure how to bridge the gap between them. He tried to strike up conversation a few times, but Jaya only answered with short, polite phrases. After several weeks, Marcus noticed subtle changes in her demeanor. She seemed to linger in rooms longer than necessary. Sometimes he'd catch her glancing at him, her golden eyes unreadable. She moved with a certain hesitation, as if unsure whether to speak or remain silent. One day, as Marcus worked in his greenhouse, he felt her presence behind him. When he turned, she was holding a small tray of tea, a gesture she'd never made before. "You don't need to bring me that," Marcus said, startled. "It's customary," she replied softly. "When one works hard, they should have something warm to keep them steady." He accepted the tea, unsure of what else to say. Jaya stood quietly by the greenhouse doorway, her hands clasped neatly in front of her. For a moment, Marcus considered asking about her homeworld, her past, her life before arriving here. But something about her posture, a calm yet restrained stillness, made him hesitate. Over time, Zaya's presence became more than just functional. Though she still performed her tasks flawlessly, there was an unspoken connection forming. Marcus noticed that she always kept the house a little warmer than the colony standard, a temperature more comfortable for humans. She prepared meals he'd mentioned offhandedly weeks ago, remembering his preferences as if they were stored in her very essence. Yet the subtle tension remained. Jaya was respectful to a fault, but she seemed to be holding back. Some part of her nature kept carefully in check. Marcus began to sense that her quiet demeanor wasn't just professionalism, it was something more personal. She looked at him with a softness that hinted at a deeper understanding, a quiet yearning to be seen as more than an assigned caretaker. One evening, Marcus found Jaya standing by the balcony, staring at the horizon where the alien ocean met the distant stars. She turned as he approached, her face serene. "The waves here," she said softly. "They never stop moving. Even in stillness, they flow." Marcus leaned against the balcony railing, following her gaze. "It's calming, isn't it?" She nodded, her golden eyes flickering with an emotion Marcus couldn't quite name. "It's different. On my world, the seas were not like this. The currents were stronger, and the skies were often shadowed. Here, everything feels alive. They stood in silence for a while, watching the tide roll in and out. Marcus wondered what it was like for her, leaving her world behind to live among humans. Did she miss her home? Was she lonely? He wanted to ask, but he also didn't want to push her. For all her calm and efficiency, Jaya carried an air of mystery that Marcus wasn't sure how to unravel. As the stars rose higher, Marcus found himself thinking that Jaya's arrival had changed more than his household routine. Her quiet presence had brought something unexpected, an unfamiliar warmth, a quiet connection that didn't need words to exist. Life in Marcus's home followed a quiet rhythm. Jaya performed her duties efficiently, her graceful presence filling the space with an unspoken calm. For weeks, her movements were predictable, cleaning the greenhouse, preparing meals, organizing tools. Yet, as the days passed, Marcus began to notice something unusual. Jaya's demeanor was shifting. It started with the smallest details. She lingered longer in the kitchen, polishing a surface that was already spotless. Her footsteps became slower, her pauses longer. When she spoke, her voice had a softer, almost hesitant tone, as if she were weighing her words carefully. Marcus found himself wondering what was going through her mind. One evening, while reviewing notes on a new plant hybrid, Marcus heard a gentle knock on the office door. Jaya rarely disturbed him during his work hours, so he looked up in surprise. She stood in the doorway, hands folded neatly in front of her golden eyes glimmering faintly in the dim light. "Do you need something, Jia?" Marcus asked, closing his tablet. Jaya hesitated. "I just wanted to ask if you were comfortable. I noticed you've been working late, and I can adjust the lighting if it helps." "I'm fine, thank you," Marcus replied, though he couldn't help but notice the slight tremor in her voice. She nodded and left the room, her movements unusually slow. Marcus returned to his work, but his thoughts lingered on her behavior. Jaya's precision and calm had always been steady, almost mechanical. Now, though, there was a human-like warmth in her actions. He wasn't sure if it was simply his imagination or something deeper. The next morning, Marcus stepped into the greenhouse to find Jaya carefully examining one of his hybrid plants. She touched a leaf delicately, her expression focused. "This one," she said without turning around. "It's responding differently to the new nutrient mix." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "You noticed that?" She nodded. "Its growth pattern changed after the last adjustment. The leaves have a brighter hue." He walked over, peering at the plant. Jaya was right. The subtle shift in color was something he hadn't picked up on yet. He felt a small spark of appreciation. "Good catch," he said. "I'll update the data logs." Jaya turned to him, a faint smile on her face. "I thought it might be important. Your work is impressive." Her compliment took him by surprise. Jaya rarely offered personal opinions. "Thank you," Marcus said, unsure how else to respond. From that day on, Marcus began noticing more of these small moments. Jaya spoke more often, offering insights about the greenhouse or suggesting meal variations. She seemed more present, as though she was no longer just fulfilling a duty but genuinely participating in the life of the household. Her golden eyes, once so unreadable, now held a quiet curiosity. One evening, as they shared a meal on the balcony, Marcus decided to ask the question that had been on his mind for days. "Jaya, you've been different lately. Is everything okay?" She looked down at her plate, her lavender skin catching the soft glow of the setting sun. "I'm not sure how to explain it," she admitted. "I feel off balance." Marcus waited, sensing there was more she wanted to say. "My species has certain cycles," she continued after a long pause. "Biological phases that affect how we think and act. I think I'm entering one now." "A cycle?" Marcus repeated, trying to understand. "What does that mean for you?" Jaya hesitated, as if searching for the right words. "It's a heightened state of awareness. My senses are more attuned. My emotions feel stronger. It's not something I can control, and it's unsettling." Marcus nodded slowly. "I see. Does it affect your work here?" No, she said quickly. I can still perform my tasks. It's just, I may act differently for a while. Is there anything I can do to help? Marcus asked, his voice steady. Zaya's gaze met his, her golden eyes reflecting a depth of emotion he hadn't seen before. Just be patient with me, she said softly. It will pass. For the next few days, Marcus did his best to maintain their usual routine. He didn't push Zaya for more information, respecting her need for space. Still, he couldn't help but notice her subtle changes. She seemed more expressive, her movements more deliberate. Her voice carried a warmth that hadn't been there before. One afternoon, as they worked together in the greenhouse, Marcus glanced at Zaya. She was adjusting the watering system, her focus unwavering. For a moment, he considered what it must be like for her, navigating this unfamiliar territory. Despite her calm exterior, he knew she must feel vulnerable. Zaya, Marcus said, breaking the silence. You're doing great. I just wanted you to know that. She looked up, surprised. Then, a small, genuine smile spread across her face. Thank you, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. As they returned to their work, Marcus felt a growing sense of trust between them. Whatever challenges this cycle brought, he knew they could face it together. A few weeks after Zaya mentioned her cycle, Marcus began to see just how deeply it affected her. She had always been graceful and composed, but now there was a distinct intensity in her every action. Simple tasks like tending to the greenhouse or preparing dinner seemed to require more effort on her part. Her hands would pause mid-motion, her eyes distant, as if she were sorting through a storm of thoughts before continuing. Despite these changes, Zaya remained attentive and diligent. She never allowed the shifting emotions within her to disrupt her work. If anything, she seemed to work harder to maintain a sense of normalcy. Marcus respected that, but he also noticed how quiet she had become. She spoke less often, her words softer and more deliberate. When she looked at Marcus, her gaze lingered, as though she were trying to understand something that even she couldn't fully explain. One day, while pruning one of the taller plants in the greenhouse, Marcus heard Zaya approach. She carried a basket filled with fresh herbs and carefully set it down beside him. She didn't speak at first, simply standing there as if waiting for the right moment. Finally, she broke the silence. Marcus, she began, her voice gentle. Have you ever felt like you were trying to hold back something you didn't fully understand? Marcus stopped trimming the plant and turned to face her. What do you mean? She lowered her gaze to the basket. I mean emotions, instincts, a pull toward something that feels right, even if it doesn't make sense. It's like a current in a river that's too strong to resist. Marcus leaned against the counter, giving her his full attention. I think everyone has felt something like that at some point, he said. What you're going through, it's not easy, but you're handling it better than most people I know. Zaya looked up, her golden eyes shimmering with a mixture of gratitude and uncertainty. It's strange. On my homeworld, we're taught to embrace this cycle, to follow it naturally. But here, I feel different. I don't want to cause you discomfort. You haven't, Marcus assured her. If anything, I'm just trying to understand what you're experiencing. You've always been steady and composed, and now you're dealing with something that's clearly intense, but you haven't let it stop you from being yourself. Zaya's expression softened. Thank you. Your understanding means more than I can say. That evening, as the sun set over the ocean, Marcus found himself thinking about their conversation. Zaya's cycle wasn't just a biological phenomenon. It was a deeply personal experience that challenged her sense of identity. He admired her courage in facing it while continuing to maintain her responsibilities. The next day, Marcus noticed something different in Zaya's behavior. She seemed more at ease, though still subdued. Her movements, once hesitant, had become more fluid. When she spoke, there was a quiet confidence in her tone that hadn't been there before. Zaya, Marcus said as they worked side by side in the greenhouse, it seems like you're starting to find a balance. Do you feel better? She nodded, a small smile appearing on her face. I think so. The initial surge was overwhelming, but now it's settling. I still feel it, but I can manage it more easily. That's good to hear, Marcus replied. I was worried that this would be a constant struggle for you. It's not easy, Jaya admitted, but having your support has made a difference. You didn't judge me or push me away. You just listened. Marcus felt a sense of relief. He had worried that his attempts to be supportive might not be enough, but hearing Zaya's words reassured him. They continued their work, the greenhouse filled with the gentle rustle of leaves and the soft hum of the water system. As the weeks passed, Zaya's cycle gradually faded into the background. Her natural composure returned, though Marcus noticed that she seemed more open than before. She shared stories of her homeworld, her training, and her people's traditions. In turn, Marcus told her about Earth, its diverse cultures, and the challenges of adapting to life on a distant colony. Their conversations grew longer, filled with curiosity and mutual respect. One evening, as they stood on the balcony overlooking the ocean, Jaya turned to Marcus with a thoughtful expression. Marcus, do you think it's possible to truly connect with someone from another world? Not just through words, but through understanding. Marcus considered her question carefully. I think it is, he said. It takes patience, honesty, and a willingness to learn from each other. It's not always easy, but I believe that real connection is always worth the effort. Zaya's golden eyes met his, and she nodded. I believe that too. In that moment, Marcus realized that Jaya's cycle had not only been a challenge for her, but also an opportunity for them to grow closer. Their trust in each other had deepened, and they had found a way to bridge the gap between their worlds. As the stars lit up the night sky, Marcus felt a quiet sense of gratitude for the unexpected bond they had formed. Days turned into weeks, and as Jaya's cycle passed, a more profound sense of normalcy returned to the household. Marcus noticed the small ways in which her demeanor changed. She seemed more confident, more certain of her place in his life. Yet there was something else, a subtle shift in the air whenever they spoke, a quiet trust that hadn't existed before. One afternoon, while they worked together in the greenhouse, Marcus brought up something he'd been curious about for a while. Zaya, you mentioned before that your cycle is a natural part of your species. What is it meant to achieve? Zaya carefully set down a watering can and wiped her hands on a cloth. She looked thoughtful, as if choosing her words carefully. For us, the cycle is a time of heightened awareness and emotional clarity. On my homeworld, it's seen as a time to strengthen bonds with family, friends, or those we hold dear. It allows us to understand our emotions more deeply, to connect on a level that isn't usually possible. Marcus nodded, considering her explanation. And how does that apply here? Being so far from home, without others of your kind around. Zaya tilted her head slightly, her golden eyes meeting his. I didn't expect it to be so different, she admitted. I thought I would simply experience the cycle and move on, as I always have. But this time, it felt more intense. Being away from my people made it more complicated, but it also made me realize something. What's that? Marcus asked. She hesitated for a moment before speaking. You've shown me kindness and understanding, even when I wasn't sure how to handle myself. That kind of connection, it's what we seek during the cycle. I thought it could only happen among my own kind, but now I see that understanding isn't limited by species. Marcus smiled at her words. Well, I've learned a lot from you too. It's not every day someone gets to work alongside someone like you. Someone so thoughtful and dedicated. Zaya's expression softened, and she nodded once. Thank you, Marcus. I think this cycle has helped me see that I can adapt, even in ways I never thought possible. Their bond continued to grow, quietly but steadily. Jaya began sharing more about her life before coming to the colony, her training as a caretaker, her memories of the lush, violet fields of her homeworld, and the intricate social customs of her people. Marcus, in turn, told her stories of Earth, its history, and his childhood dreams of exploring the stars. One evening, as they finished dinner, Jaya spoke up again. "Marcus, I've been thinking about what you said earlier, about connection not being limited by species. I believe you're right, but I also think it's something that takes effort and trust." "It definitely does," Marcus agreed, "and I think we're figuring it out together." Zaya's golden eyes held his gaze for a moment longer before she nodded. "I believe so too." Over time, their partnership became more than just a practical arrangement. It was a meeting of two worlds, two ways of thinking, and two lives that were never meant to cross, but did anyway. Marcus found himself looking forward to their conversations, to the quiet moments spent tending the greenhouse or sitting on the balcony as the stars emerged one by one. For Zaya, the experience was just as meaningful. She had always viewed her role as a caretaker as one of duty and service, but Marcus showed her that it could be more. Through their shared work and growing understanding, she found a sense of belonging she hadn't expected. One afternoon, as they stood in the greenhouse observing the progress of the hybrid plants, Jaya turned to Marcus and asked a question that had been on her mind. "Marcus, what made you choose this life? Living in a colony so far from Earth, working with plants instead of people?" Marcus paused, considering his answer. "I guess it's because I wanted to be somewhere peaceful, where I could focus on creating something useful. Plants don't judge, they don't rush you. They grow at their own pace, and in a way, they remind me to be patient." Zaya nodded thoughtfully. "I think I understand that. There's a purity in growth, in the slow and steady process of nurturing something into being." "Exactly," Marcus said, smiling. "And I think the same goes for connections between people, or between a person and someone from another world." Zaya's expression softened, and for the first time, she allowed herself a small, genuine smile. It was a simple moment, but it held a quiet power. In that smile, Marcus saw not just gratitude, but trust, a trust that had grown over time, and through mutual respect. As the days continued, the bond they shared became a part of their routine, woven into the fabric of their daily lives. It wasn't something either of them had planned, but it felt natural. And in that quiet connection, they found something rare and valuable, a shared understanding that crossed the boundaries of their worlds. The colony's days settled into a steady rhythm, and so did Marcus and Zaya's life within it. Their routines became smoother, their conversations more natural, and their time together felt less like a duty and more like a quiet partnership. Yet even as their bond grew stronger, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that Jaya's presence in his life would one day lead to something extraordinary. It happened during a routine maintenance check in the greenhouse. Marcus was adjusting the nutrient flow to one of his more temperamental hybrid plants, a delicate vine that required exact conditions to thrive. Jaya stood nearby, holding a tablet and taking notes as Marcus made the necessary tweaks. "Try increasing the UV spectrum by 5%, Jaya suggested, her golden eyes scanning the data on the screen. "Won't that cause the leaves to burn?" Marcus asked, skeptical. "Not with this species," she explained. "Virulent plants, especially those adapted to high-altitude regions, respond well to additional UV exposure. They become more resistant to environmental stress. I noticed a similar effect in one of the older samples you showed me last week." Marcus paused, looking from the plant to Jaya and back again. "You've been comparing these hybrids to virulent flora." Zaya nodded. It seemed logical. "Your hybrids share several genetic markers with plants from my homeworld. I thought it might help improve their resilience." Her calm response caught Marcus off guard. He had always seen Jaya as a dedicated caretaker, but her ability to make these connections, and her initiative to act on them, was impressive. He adjusted the UV settings as she suggested, then stepped back to watch the results. As the minutes passed, the plant responded exactly as Jaya had predicted. Its leaves, which had been slightly yellowed from stress, began to regain a healthy, vibrant green. Marcus couldn't help but smile. "You were right," he admitted. "It's bouncing back already." "I'm glad I could help," Jaya said, a hint of pride in her voice. From that moment on, their work became more collaborative. Jaya continued to apply her knowledge of virulent ecology to the hybrid plants, offering insights that Marcus hadn't considered before. Together, they refined their processes, experimenting with new nutrient blends, adjusting light cycles, and observing how the plants adapted. Their shared discoveries didn't go unnoticed. One afternoon, while reviewing data logs, Marcus received a message from the colony's research council. They were interested in his recent progress and wanted to know more about the methods he was using. Marcus drafted a report, carefully outlining the changes he'd made, without mentioning Jaya's contributions, her colony policy. When he finished, he showed the report to Zia. "I couldn't include your name, but I want you to know that this work wouldn't have been possible without you." Zia read through the report silently before nodding. "Thank you, Marcus. Knowing that our efforts are making a difference is enough." Marcus appreciated her modesty, but he couldn't help feeling that her insights deserved recognition. Still, colony regulations were strict, and he didn't want to risk drawing unwanted attention to her unique position. As their experiments continued, so did their conversations. Jaya's curiosity about human culture grew, and Marcus found himself answering questions he never expected. "Why do humans have so many different festivals?" she asked one evening, as they sat on the balcony watching the distant glow of the colony's main settlement. Marcus chuckled. "I think it's because we like celebrating the things that bring us together. Festivals remind us of our shared history, our values, and the milestones we've reached. They help us feel connected." Zia considered this. "On my world, we have ceremonies that serve a similar purpose. They're not as frequent, but they mark important changes, like the completion of a cycle or the beginning of a new journey." "Sounds like something we call a rite of passage," Marcus said. "Do you have one that stands out in your memory?" Zaya's expression turned thoughtful. "There was a ceremony when I completed my caretaker training. We were given a small living crystal, a symbol of our dedication to nurturing life. Mine grew into a vibrant green, which is considered a sign of strong growth. I keep it with me even now." Her words carried a quiet pride, and Marcus felt a deep respect for the journey that had brought her here. "That's a powerful tradition," he said. "It's amazing how much meaning you've given to something so small." "It's not the crystal itself," Jaya replied. "It's what it represents, the effort and care that go into helping something thrive. I see the same dedication in your work, Marcus. That's why I feel at home here." Her admission took him by surprise. Jaya had never spoken so openly about her feelings before. Marcus wasn't sure how to respond, so he simply nodded, his gaze drifting out toward the ocean. The waves rolled in gently, their steady rhythm mirroring the quiet bond that had formed between them. In the days that followed, Marcus noticed a new sense of ease in their partnership. They moved through their tasks seamlessly, as if they had always worked together. With each experiment, each discovery, their trust deepened. And though they never spoke of it directly, they both understood that they had found something rare and valuable, a shared purpose, a shared respect, and perhaps even a shared future. One morning, as Marcus was inspecting his greenhouse, Jaya approached him, her expression unusually serious. Before he could ask what was wrong, she held up a small device, a holographic communicator. "I received a message," Jaya said softly, "from the Virellan consulate." Marcus blinked. "The Virellan consulate? Why would they contact you here?" "I'm not sure," she admitted. "It's unusual for them to reach out directly. I haven't been in contact with my homeworld since I arrived." "Do you want me to leave you alone so you can respond?" Marcus offered. "No," Jaya said quickly, then hesitated. "Actually, I'd appreciate it if you stayed. I don't know what they'll say, and I'd feel better having you here." Marcus nodded, giving her an encouraging look. "Of course. Whatever it is, we'll handle it together." She gave a small, grateful smile and activated the communicator. A hologram appeared, a tall Virellan figure dressed in formal robes. His lavender skin shimmered faintly under the projection's light. His expression was calm but carried an air of authority. "Caretaker Jia," the hologram said, his voice smooth and measured. "I trust you are well." "I am, Envoy Callus," Jaya replied. "What brings you to contact me after all this time?" The envoy inclined his head slightly. "There have been questions from the consulate, concerns about your well-being and your current assignment." "I'm perfectly fine," Jaya said firmly. "My work here is fulfilling, and my employer treats me with the utmost respect." The envoy's gaze shifted, as though taking in his surroundings despite the limitations of the hologram. "We have received reports that your cycle began while you were stationed on this colony. Is that correct?" Zaya's expression didn't waver. "Yes, that is correct. However, it has passed, and I am fully capable of performing my duties." "I see," Callus said slowly. "And you have experienced no complications?" "None," Jaya replied, her voice steady. "In fact, I have found this environment to be conducive to both personal and professional growth. The human I assist has been understanding and supportive throughout the process." Callus regarded her for a long moment before nodding. "Very well. The consulate wishes to ensure that all Virelan staff remain safe and effective in their roles. If you are certain that you are well and that your position is secure, we will not interfere." "I appreciate your concern," Jaya said with a respectful bow of her head. "But I assure you, I am content here." "Understood," Callus replied. "If you ever need assistance or wish to return to Virelan territory, do not hesitate to contact us." "Thank you, Envoy Callus," Jaya said, her tone polite yet firm. The hologram flickered off, leaving Marcus and Zaya standing in the greenhouse. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Finally, Marcus broke the silence. "Well, that was unexpected." "Yes," Jaya said, a faint frown on her face. "It's rare for them to check in so directly. I didn't think they'd concern themselves with my cycle." "Maybe they just wanted to make sure you were okay," Marcus suggested. "Perhaps," she said, "but I can't help but feel there's more to it. The consulate doesn't usually involve itself in day-to-day assignments unless there's a larger issue at play." "Do you think you'll hear from them again?" "I don't know," Jayad admitted. "But for now, it seems they've accepted my response." Marcus nodded. "Well, if they contact you again, you know I'll have your back." Zaya's expression softened, and she gave him a small smile. "Thank you, Marcus. That means a lot to me." With the matter seemingly resolved, they returned to their work, though Marcus couldn't help but notice that Jaya was more thoughtful than usual. She moved through the greenhouse with her usual efficiency, but there was a certain quietness to her actions, as though she were turning the conversation over in her mind. That evening, as they sat on the balcony, Marcus finally asked what he'd been wondering all day. "Do you think they'll try to make you leave?" Zaya shook her head slowly. "No, the consulate is cautious, but they also respect individual choice. As long as I'm fulfilling my duties and not causing any harm, they won't force me to return." "Then why do you seem so worried?" She looked out at the horizon, where the ocean met the stars. "Because I value what I've built here. This place, this life, it's become important to me. I don't want to lose that." Marcus placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You won't lose it. I won't let that happen." Zaya turned to him, her golden eyes reflecting both gratitude and determination. "Thank you, Marcus. I'll do everything I can to stay." Together, they sat in comfortable silence, watching the waves roll in. Whatever challenges might come, they knew they would face them together, their bond stronger than ever. The days that followed the consulate's visit brought Marcus and Gia closer. They settled back into their routine, but something had shifted. The silent understanding between them had deepened, and there was an unspoken promise in the air. No matter what came next, they would face it together. One morning, while Marcus was preparing his nutrient mixture for the greenhouse, Jaya entered the room with a thoughtful expression. She carried a small glowing crystal in her hand, the same one she had mentioned before during their conversations. "This is my caretaker's crystal," she said, holding it up for him to see. Marcus paused and turned to her. The crystal's surface shimmered like polished glass, and within it, soft green light pulsed faintly, as though it had a heartbeat of its own. "It's beautiful," Marcus said. "You said this represents your dedication, right?" Zaya nodded, her golden eyes meeting his. "Yes, I was given this when I completed my training. It's a reminder of why I do what I do, and, in a way, it reflects the health of my purpose. When I feel I'm fulfilling my role, the crystal shines brighter." Marcus watched the gentle glow. "It must mean a lot to you." "It does," Jaya said softly. "But it's more than just a symbol. It's a connection to my people, to my heritage. No matter how far I am from home, this crystal reminds me of where I come from and where I belong." "Do you think it's gotten brighter since you've been here?" Marcus asked, a small smile on his face. Jaya considered his question for a moment, then nodded. "Yes, I think it has." She placed the crystal on the counter and joined Marcus at the greenhouse console. They worked together in comfortable silence, their movements synchronized as they adjusted the nutrient levels and examined the plant's growth. Over time, their experiments began yielding remarkable results. The hybrids they had been cultivating grew stronger, their leaves more vibrant, their stems more resilient. Word spread through the colony, and soon, Marcus found himself invited to present his findings at a local research forum. "You should come with me," Marcus said to Zia one evening as they prepared dinner. "You've been a huge part of this. You deserve to see the reactions firsthand." Zaya hesitated. "You know I can't formally participate. My role here is meant to be discreet." "Who said anything about formality?" Marcus grinned. "You've done incredible work, Zia. People don't need to know every detail to appreciate what you've contributed. Just being there would mean a lot to both of us." After a moment's thought, Jada nodded. "All right, I'll come." When the day of the forum arrived, Marcus stood before a small audience of scientists, researchers, and colony administrators. He presented his data, explained their methods, and shared the breakthroughs they had achieved. Jaya stayed in the background, watching quietly, but Marcus knew she was there. Her presence gave him confidence, and he spoke with passion about their work. When he finished, the room erupted in applause. A few people approached him afterward, eager to ask questions and learn more. As he engaged with the crowd, Marcus noticed Zaya standing near the back, her golden eyes bright with quiet pride. After the forum, as they walked home together, Marcus turned to her. "What did you think?" "It was remarkable," Jaya said, a soft smile on her lips. "To see so many people inspired by our work, it's something I never thought I'd experience." "You were just as much a part of it as I was," Marcus said. "Even if they didn't know it, your efforts made all the difference." Zaya nodded. "Thank you, Marcus. That means more than I can say." Back at home, they sat on the balcony, watching the stars as they often did. Marcus felt a deep sense of gratitude for everything they had accomplished together. He turned to Gia, wanting to express just how much her presence had changed his life. "Gia," he began, his voice steady, "I know you've said that the crystal's glow reflects your purpose, but I think it also reflects something else." She tilted her head slightly. "What do you mean?" "I think it shows the connections you've made," Marcus said, "not just to your work, but to the people around you. To me." Zaya's golden eyes widened slightly, and for a moment, she seemed unsure how to respond. Then, a warm smile spread across her face. "That may be true," she said softly. "If that's the case, then the glow is as much yours as it is mine." They sat together in silence, the crystal resting on the table beside them, its green light pulsing gently. In that moment, Marcus realized that their bond had become something unshakable. No matter what the future held, they had found something rare, a partnership built on trust, understanding, and the quiet strength that came from facing challenges together.